Welcome to the BCEN and Friends podcast. In the second part of our two-part podcast with Bridget Flood and Janie Shoemaker and Jonny Boucher, we dive into the season of the spread of COVID-19, how it has truly placed a remarkable strain on our doctors and nurses. We will talk with Jonny, ask how we can come together as a community to ensure that we are understanding his motto, "It's okay not to be okay," and how we can reach out to our fellow colleagues to ensure their mental as well as physical health are top priority. Now over to Bridget and Janie in our conclusion of how it's okay not to be okay with our special guest, Jonny Boucher.
Janie, do you have any questions?
I do. So Jonny, I would like to talk a little bit specific to our listening audience who are largely professionals in the emergency spectrum. So they work in a lot in the emergency department, flight nurses, trauma nurses, and and I think that as a ER nurse, being an ER nurse myself in the past, I know we get considerable training and guidance, and hopefully we're doing a good job recognizing people that may be in need of help. And that's so very important because, that visit that we have, that one encounter that we have with our patients could be the matter of life and death for them. But I'd like to talk a little bit, or have you talk a little bit rather, about any tips that you might have for the healthcare team themselves. There's a lot of articles that I read about physician suicide. I know it also happens in nursing and in other very important roles that various healthcare team members play. And so I'm just wondering if you have any tips for how nurses and other important members of the healthcare team might talk with their colleagues or take better care of themselves. We're caregivers, so we're always focused on that patient or that family member or our own family members. It seems that we're taking care of everybody else, and oftentimes our own mental health and care comes last. And so I think sometimes we can start to feel we can feel various things. And I think that does lead to people taking their lives in healthcare. And so how can we help ourselves and our colleagues? Would you have any tips around that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my partner, Caitlin, she's an occupational therapist, and we talk about this all the time as she has had to be there for a lot of her colleagues during, pre and, during COVID times. And so we had a discussion that led to a discussion that I had with our clinical oversight committee about the power of structure. And one of the things that healthcare workers right now is they have more of a structure than most people in society right now. That could be a good thing or that could be a bad thing, right? Because they might have family and kids they got to deal with too, but they still need to go and, be on the front line of the healthcare industry. So it's really important that within your routine, however it is, that you do dial in daily time for yourself. And I know it sounds cheesy, but the power of taking 15 minutes, no phone in hand, maybe going for a walk outside, maybe just catching some fresh air in your backyard, on your patio, wherever you live, that is so crucial to your success. And I try to find time for me to do that in the morning as well as in the evening, which again, some days, you forget to shower. So, there might be not 15 minutes for you to do, but it is important that we see these opportunities throughout the day. So maybe if you go on shift, it's not just sitting there and going through the digital death scroll on Instagram. It's having a book, having a good spot to go just breathe, maybe doing some meditation, doing things that are within your reach that aren't going to add more weight to your daily bag and whatnot. I look at yoga, right? As a bigger guy, I never used to be able to touch my toes. I can put my hands all the way underneath my feet now, and I can do that wherever the hell I want to, because I'm just dropping real quick. I'm just aligning my spine. I'm just feeling that little balance. And so when we talk about self-care, right, we got to talk about it in the sense of we all know what a soda bottle looks like, and we know what happens when the soda bottle gets shook up. And what happens if, the soda bottle cap doesn't come off, right? What happens? It eventually comes off, right? Because it explodes, right?
Right.
So throughout our day, wherever we are, whatever industry, we got to build our tools that help us take that cap off and just ease it off a little bit. Because if we take it off all the way too quick, again, if there's so much pressure, we're going to spill over. And that's where we see people unfortunately get to a place where they might harm themselves or harm others if it's not talked about or really taken care of as fast as you can. And so for people who have very limited schedules, I'm a big list believer. I'm a believer in get up, make your bed, and if you're a coffee drinker like I am, make yourself a pour over or something, but interact with that, and don't do it with a phone in your hand, because we are so quick to grab our phones. We use them for everything: our alarm clocks, our dietary journals, our deepest, darkest secrets. Like, we can have a positive relationship with our technology, but it doesn't need to be attached to us at all times. But I mean, being honest, how quick did you both grab your phones this morning and maybe go on Facebook or one of your social media networks, right?
Oh,
How
yeah,
quick is that?
About 5 minutes after I woke up, to be honest. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And that's okay. That's the society we're into. So I try to challenge people, take time for yourself. I try to give myself 45 minutes in the morning before I look at anything on my phone. And that might be hard, because we might need to, we might have to have a potty break. We might need to look something up to do something, like maybe, cook a meal or what have you. But I just challenge people, like, build that into your schedule and build it into your routines, because that is for you. Because then once you get through your day and you've given it your all to everyone else, what are you going to do? You're going to come home and just Netflix and chill? Of course you can, but if you do that 7 days a week, it's not healthy. If you're going home and cracking a bottle of wine every single night for 7 days a week, that might not be the healthiest, opportunity for you to take care of yourself. So I just challenge people to go, what is within my reach? What music are you listening to? Are you even listening to music on your way to work? Like, how can you build yourself up throughout the day while then taking that cap off, because it's chipping away at you? And if you get to a place where you're pouring from an empty cup, it can be dangerous for yourself, because, again, healthcare workers, right? We're worrying about everyone else other than ourselves. So we're the last ones to probably eat a healthy meal. We're probably the last ones to have a healthy routine, because we're just trying to be there for our people. So it's important that, instead of just relying on the fast food on the way home, that maybe you pack a meal or you have a meal, to cook when you get home. I love cooking when I get home, because I can shut everything off and just cook. And as we all know, the food, it's quite obvious. So.
Yeah, that's some really great advice. And I have to say, there's been this joke ever since I've been in nursing, particularly with nurses that work in the emergency department. They pride themselves on that 12-hour bladder. They can go 12 hours without using the bathroom, and they've got that 12-hour bladder. And yeah, that's kind of funny, but really it's not. So I think your message to us about taking time to relieve that pressure on the bottle is spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jonny, I'd also be curious just to see, this global pandemic has changed so much of our world and our daily routines. Some of us more than others, obviously, as you pointed out, with our healthcare professionals, they probably do have more of a routine that didn't change so much for them as it did some of the rest of us. But thinking of your vision and mission for Hope for the Day, what have you had to do differently, or what's changed as far as how you're reaching people with your resources and messages?
Yeah, so we've always had a strong digital presence on social media, but we had built in a virtual education program that we were going to actually launch in September for Suicide Prevention Month this year. And when we were looking at 2020 in general, we were like, all right, we want to educate 20,000 people in 2020. And it was because in 2019, we educated over 14,000 people with our education. And that's awesome, to know that. And so going into the year, we were very ambitious. We were like, all right, we got to have quotas. We got to hit 5,000 people every quarter, real simple math. And January 1st to March 12th, we had educated 4,200 people face-to-face. But the reason I bring up March 12th is because that was the last day that our staff traveled. And then that following Sunday is when we shut down our coffee shop here in Chicago. And so I immediately told everyone to work from home. And talking with my education department, I said, hey, we might need to turn this on very quick. And they said, all right, well, it's good to go. And we turned on our digital education workshops on March 27th. And as of today, we have educated over 26,000 people in 2020 thus far.
Wow. So you were in a good position, and it sounds like, I remember the middle of March was when everything kind of fell apart and things started shutting down. And so for you to be ready to roll with even more good stuff by March 27th, that's impressive. Very impressive. So you didn't really miss a beat at all. That's amazing.
We have a very dedicated team, and the power of having many people be a part of that team, it's how we get through it, really. Like we just don't know any other way when it comes to the work that we do at Hope for the Day. So it's been a mind-boggling experience, but we've expanded our education, and we're offering it in multiple languages, and we're working with a lot of our European partners right now that we would traditionally be doing outreach with them right now, and getting people on the ground educated to be our educators in those communities, because that's the biggest thing. No matter where we come from, our background, financial structure or not, or status, like, we are all human beings, right? And when we were going through school, we weren't told about the good days and bad days. We were taught about sex ed, drug education, and then, your general core, and obviously then physical health. And lo and behold, we're still trying to get people to understand that our physical health is directly, related to our mental health. They work together. And that is very important, especially for the healthcare industry to practice that same, message too, because that's the world that everybody in healthcare is facing, right? Our physical health don't have the best experiences with their, their patients or the clients that they're serving. And it's solely because they're also having to adjust to people feeling completely disheveled from whatever the trauma experience that they've been going through. Mm-hmm. My partner Caitlin talks about it all the time, where she'll maybe have a gunshot wound victim come in who was a star athlete and now has no, isn't looking like they're going to be, walking anytime soon, but they can get there. It's with that determination, but they are unfortunately experiencing this in real time, so they don't always have the opportunity to really do the best job of understanding that, the healthcare worker that's in front of them is there to support them, not against them. And that's rough. It doesn't make getting up bright and early the next day as easy as you would hope, right? So that's where, again, we're having those outlets to go take that pain and maybe not take it just home, but take it to others that are part of your field, right? To get that experience of how this is how I felt. How did you feel? There's so much power in that conversation. Yeah, it's hard conversations that are the ones that people have the most difficult time having. But after we have them, right, we feel good about it. It's like this sense of relief. And so my heart goes out to the all the healthcare workers, because it's sometimes you don't want to help that person in front of you, even though they need your help so bad, and maybe they have a family member who is there, that is supposed to be supportive, that is being actually not supportive, and that's difficult too, because you're just trying to do your job. So it's very important to understand that you do have those tools, and that you do have the ability to not carry that with you, but to get rid of it and become more mindful and understanding on how you can be more successful. Even though you did a damn good job, it's how can you be more successful with those people, because over time that becomes successful for you too. How you channel that and how you take that home. But it's so crucially important that wherever you are in the healthcare sector, whether you're just getting out of school and getting your hands, dirty, to being, 20, 30-year veteran of this community, it doesn't matter. Like, you're still a human being. You have good days and bad days. And if you're having a string of bad days and then you start having bad experiences with others, your bottle's going to get shook up more and more. And we understand that the healthcare industry has been impacted by suicide and mental health. And it's because of these very reasons, but we still only react to these things where we can be proactive, and we don't have to have the hard conversations of, oh, I would have never thought that, so-and-so would have taken their life. Because they were always so good. Everyone loved them. Like, they were great on the pediatric floor. It's like, that's great, but we missed something. And are we just going to sweep it under the rug and wait for, another tragedy to happen for us to sweep it under the rug? Or are we going to learn and do something about this? Because if we're going to learn and do something about it, we can, but it requires us to lean in and have those conversations. And so why it's so important that what we do in the workplace, and work with HR and work with leadership, is because it needs to be a top-down mentality, or people aren't going to believe it. They're going to be like, yeah, I don't know my CEO, and I can't relate. Where we if we take the time to have the conversations, at the end of the day, we all can relate to one another one way or another.
Yeah, that's some really great things for us to all think about. So thank you for that. And Bridget, I think it's probably time for our favorite part of the whole podcast, right?
It is. Jonny, these were great conversations, great points, but we're going to go to rapid fire questions. It shouldn't feel like a test, but we just have a couple questions. If you could just respond like what first comes to your mind. So the first one is, how did partnering with Demi Lovato and Marshmello happen? And by the way, I had to go listen to Marshmello because I didn't know who he was.
That's all good. Awesome. My mom did the same exact thing. But our partnership with Demi Lovato and Marshmello came very organically. We had been working in the music sector for a long time as an organization. Our partnership with Live Nation put us in front of a lot of different people, and we had originally reached out to Demi's management team, Scooter Braun, who also handles Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande, a couple of years ago, and we're like, hey, we should link, and we never heard anything. And then one day, someone tagged me in a post and was like, Scooter Braun said it's okay not to be okay. And I was like, wonder what's up. And then about a month later, I got an email from his team saying, hey, we'd love to talk to you about a song we're releasing, and we want to partner with Hope for the Day. So I get on the phone, and I have no clue who we're talking about, other than, all right, it's got to be someone. And they're like, listen, so you and the organization that you started really have inspired one of our artists on Scooter Braun's team, and then we have Marshmello's team on here too. And I was like, all right, Marshmello, I know Marshmello. Who else are we working with? And then they said Marshmello and Demi Lovato wrote a song together called Okay Not to Be Okay, inspired by the work that Hope for the Day does. And we want to talk about how we can release this with you all and make some impact together. And my jaw, I think, slammed through my computer screen. And I was like, all right, what do you want to do? And they're like, well, we want to hear from you. What do you want to do? And I was like, oh, wow, this is real. Okay. And we had this opportunity to just be open and honest and talk about like experiences that, we've seen in the past about how, if we're going to do things the right way instead of right away, we want to have resources, we want to have education, we want to have all these opportunities. But the world is really our oyster. And so it came together very organically. And I'd pushed their team to release a song in September. And they're like, all right, how does September 10th work for you? And I was like, that's World Suicide Prevention Day. They're like, okay. And I was like, perfect, let's go. And so it's just been this beautiful opportunity for us to engage with new audience that, again, needed to hear this same conversation, that no matter where you are, that you can ask for help. And it starts by understanding that it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah, and I love how it all fell into place without really trying. What's the best moment you've had since starting Hope for the Day?
Wow, I have no clue.
I'm sure.
I have no clue. I often try to remain very humble about the journey, and I remember the earlier days. I remember the first event that I ever put on down at Olivet Nazarene University down in Bourbonnais with a friend of mine, and the first time someone told me about losing, in a very heartfelt way, that they said, but you've helped me, to speaking to 12,000 individuals at Wembley Arena last year, there's so much, there's so much. And I think that the moment that I will always look back on is the moment that I challenged myself to think about more than just myself and how I could do something different. And it's been a wild journey. I mean, from being told by, Barack Obama, I'm one of 5 individuals who inspired him in 2018 to doing a track with Demi Lovato, to bringing our message to over 28 countries in this world, and doing it all in a shoestring budget, and just believing that by starting the conversation, we can have the conversation, and having conversations with people internationally where language barriers were once an issue. And over time, I learned how to say, it's okay not to be okay in German. So imagine being in a room with 2,000 Germans and saying, "Es ist okay, nicht okay zu sein, hab Hoffen Deutschland," and the whole place just erupts like it is like the biggest party there is. And it's because people are craving for this message and this understanding that we're all works in progress. So it's hard for me to identify what is my most,
Right.
I mean, one of those moments is right now with y'all. Because I think about it to understand that at one point in time, Hope for the Day didn't exist. It was a thought, it was a feeling, it was an emotion, it was an action. And to do it, and to know that next year is our 10-year anniversary, and we employ over 20 people, and we have thousands of supporters around the world. I don't know. I mean, there's days that I'm just completely blown away by the power of just wanting to create and do something, because that's what Steve Jobs asked us to do, right? He said, think differently. And the only way to get people to think differently is to do differently. And look at, everyone has their flaws, but the outcome is look at the impact that he was able to make and continues to make for technology and so many. And I just look at my life as an opportunity to help others. And when I take my final breath, my goal is that this organization continues on and fights everything that is thrown at it, because we need people and we need to talk about mental health more than ever.
That's great, Jonny. And, I don't think it's really fair that I ask you for your best moment, because I know there's a lot of moments.
It's all good though. When people ask me the same thing about music, I'm like, right now, I mean, I'm a freaking jukebox, folks. Like, whatever your vibe is, I got you.
All right.
So, Jonny, if we tagging on to the question, sort of another piece to the question Bridget just asked, if you think about your vision for your organization, what is that? So when you achieve that vision, or as you think about what that vision looks like, what does that look like for you? What would it look like if you really, 100% achieve that vision you've got?
I think that it really comes down to the numbers, right? Being data driven, especially in mental health, we're fighting the invisible killer. I think that it comes down to just knowing that we keep growing, and every single day we keep growing. We've been very good at tracking our efforts and seeing where some of our shortcomings are, and over the years we've gotten better at forecasting. But I close my eyes and I don't know what 100% looks like, because I feel like we're only hitting 10% right now. And we got some big milestones. We have partnerships with, entities around the world that we're working on right now that will just allow us to keep gaining more and more access. But my goal is that, down the road, that we're able to provide education to anybody and everyone, no matter what language. And right now we're talking about, because we're in the coffee business as well, we, all the coffee that we buy and provide for the shop and online, all comes from these very, very honest, ethically sourced, and responsibly sourced communities. And so we're talking to our partners right now in Papua New Guinea. I mean, there's 800 languages spoke in Papua New Guinea. So that is a definite, hard one to figure out how to provide that. But we've already broken through the chastity belt. We are talking with people in Papua New Guinea about how we build these systems. And I believe that we can have those conversations in every country that we want to. It just requires people from those areas to want to be the voice for their people, because I am a white privileged man who can only speak from my experience, and I will never speak from anyone else's experience. I will listen to them, and I will work with them and my team to provide for them. And I live by that, because we need to build more tables and chairs and keep inviting people to share their experience, so we can then build real resources and support in their community that they can lean on the days that, hope for the day might not be in the neighborhood or doing education for them, what have you, that then as a community, they can thrive together. So I believe in a world where eventually we can all be talking about mental health, and it's going to take a very big group effort. But the other side of that too is just, over time, seeing these horrible stats start to, go downward is also proof that it's working. And so I don't know how to answer that question, because I'm also stubborn, and I want to make sure that I do the best job that I can. Because what the hell else am I going to do with all this air in my lungs?
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you are tenacious, and certainly I can tell you're going to keep going until you reach every possible person you can. That's what I hear you saying, and that's pretty awesome. Now, my last question for you, Jonny, is tell us quickly about your favorite book on leadership. We always ask people, or just a favorite book. It doesn't have to be on leadership, but what book is your go-to that you would recommend that kind of shaped you, or it's a favorite?
Oh, wow. Now this is a fun one. That's a real fun one. That's hard. I started building a library recently, because I was like, I have so many great books. But I think there's one book that I think that is really good, by Tim Ferriss, Tribe of Mentors. It's all about short life advice, and there's over 130 different people that Tim Ferriss interviews and asks the same questions to. And one of them is, how are you getting better at saying no to things? And you have such a wide spectrum of people, from different, actors, actresses, to entrepreneurs, to scientists, to athletes. And it's just so amazing, because there are times where we get lost in the what ifs, and we get in that doubt. And so I usually reach out to Tribe of Mentors to really, really drive home a little bit of just they felt the same way too, interesting. And I don't know this individual other than by way of maybe like what they do in life and whatnot, but I just feel that I can really relate to them more and more. But I really do believe that that's one of the best books out there. But there's so much. I mean, you can read a lot about, obviously, Andrew Carnegie and just, there's so many books out there that I feel that are necessary for people to read. And it's kind of like a reason I also lean further into books than podcasts is because a lot of people can podcast when we need to do a lot more listening. And so I feel like we listen more when we read, and I think that it's very valuable there. But yeah, there's many books out there that help people, and I just again I feel like it's what fits you the best. I am very open with the fact that I was never a good reader growing up. I was not the best student. I definitely learned more about the streets than I did than just from life experience than I did out of a book. But I do believe in the power of reading, and that's also one of the many ways that I look to wind down every single day. Is I try to read at least 15 minutes. Again, people need to realize that 15 minutes is a powerful amount of time. You can take a little 15-minute nap, even though it's not that Einstein with 25 or 26-minute nap, but like nap, you can go for a walk, you can read, you can take a moment for yourself, but there's so much out there that is there for you, and it's just what you do with it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Jonny, I want to make sure before we wrap up here that our audience knows where they can follow you online or on socials. Can you tell us?
Yeah. Absolutely. You can Google Hope for the Day, and you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can find our website, which is just a huge asset for resources and free education opportunities. You can go there and support the organization as well. So it's just hopefortheday.org or hftd.org, however you can. And if you're in drinking coffee like we are at Hope for the Day, Google Sip of Hope, and that's our coffee line that we use as a social enterprise to help fund as much free education as we possibly can, because I believe in allowing people to be able to learn and not have to pay for it, because it's something we were supposed to do a long time ago in society. And over time, that's going to, help us get to that place. So the more people can get educated, the more we can really drive the need for these tools to be integrated into every community and industry possible, because we are human beings going through a thing called life. And the more we can talk about our mental health, the more we'll realize that we're not alone.
Great. Well, thank you for that. So, wow, this has been such a great conversation. So Bridget, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thanks.
For our closure.
Thanks. Jonny, I want to take this time to thank you for joining us at this episode of BCN and Friends. You're certainly leaving some great footprints. So just a big thank you, Jonny. It was a great conversation today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's not about me, it's about we. So I appreciate y'all, because together we can tell stigma how we really feel, right?
Absolutely. And to all of our listeners, we hope you'll stay tuned as we continue on with this series and bring you new and impactful content and perspectives. And if you have a suggestion for an episode topic or speaker, please email us at bcen@bcen.org. I'm Bridget Flood, here with Jonny Shoemaker, and on behalf of the entire BCN team, we thank you and celebrate you for all that you're doing as professional nurses across the emergency spectrum. And until next time,